them because you don't know how it's going to turn out.
My kids empowered me to get out.
What's going on with this remote learning in the midst of COVID?
Working with different elected officials, learning and understanding how to put the community first.
Hello, and welcome to Keeping It Real with Shannon. My co-host, Tiffany Shannon. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi.
Along with my guest panelist, Miss Ebony Woods, Miss Jacqueline Renard Rivera, and Miss Angela. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
How you doing tonight?
Good.
How's everything?
Good.
Good.
Look, girl, look,
Great.
ladies. You know we got enough problem with the pandemic. So tonight is hot topics, real talk. We're gonna give it to them tonight.
Okay.
So
All right.
I don't even know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I think the pandemic has just really affected all of us in some kind of way. But our first hot topic is our Governor Andrew Cuomo. So now, what do you think about these charges coming up against him? These ladies coming out of the woodwork about what he's doing after all of these years that he has been governor?
Well, I think there's some concern to it, and there's some credence to it. They're one or two, three. They're all coming out, and they're all consistent. I think a thorough investigation needs to be had. I'm falling back on saying kick him out of office, but I think there needs to be a thorough investigation on what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can't say we're not going to discredit the women, right? Because these things have happened. But to me, it's just.
Hold on one second, Ebony. Is somebody playing a piano?
Hollis, turn that off.
Okay. Okay, Ebony, turn it off.
That's right, remote, right?
Yeah. Okay, then turn it off, please. Ebony.
It's just funny to me how it's all coming to light now. Like, where was this information 8 months ago, a year ago? Where was it? And I understand, working in places and being fearful, but it's just so like it's just funny to me how it's coming out now.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with you, Ebony, because I say the exact same thing. Because if you look back, it's a pattern. Every time when somebody want to get someone's job, all of a sudden they go find these women and they come out of nowhere. Because I already said when the first lady came out, I said, let's see how many start coming out behind her now. It's the same pattern all the time. And like you said before, I'm not saying that maybe something didn't happen, but my thing is, if you don't want no man kissing you, then he ain't going to be kissing you.
Say you open up your mouth.
You're going to open your mouth, whether it's your boss or somebody else, or he going to get smacked upside the head or whatever. Now, you're not going to stand there and let somebody do something.
Yeah.
You don't want done just because that's your boss.
Yeah, but what about every time someone's on a high note, he's brought this city through the pandemic. He's been known worldwide now. And now, he's there. He's like the number one governor. Now they just want to take him down. I'm not saying that maybe it did or didn't happen. And yes, an investigation needs to be done. But it's just funny how every time somebody is on the high note, all of a sudden they're taken down.
Yeah, what I think is really interesting is that there's eyes for him to be the probably the next president or gunning for that position. Mm-hmm. He's actually, the praise he's gotten for the pandemic was really high. So all of a sudden, who knows why they didn't come forward, and who knows what their story is. We need to hear it all, because before they eject this man, before they shut everything down and say he's out. Dig into this. Do a little more digging. Because if somebody's doing unwanted advances toward me, I don't care who they are. I'm opening my mouth up.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Why do you go to human resources or somewhere that somebody else that you can talk to or whatever? If something is not right here, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I smell a rat.
Also realize that the spirit of fear does live in our workplaces or in spaces where we are trying to advance. Right? Just like take a new teacher, for instance. If they don't have tenure, they're not going to speak up about a lot of things until after they get tenure. So it could be a little bit of that, but I'm more so of like a conspiracy theorist, because I'm like, okay, did all these things to Trump, said all these things about Trump, and now here we go.
Uh-huh.
You,
What do
you
you
make
think,
you have good
Angela?
points, Ebony. Good points.
Yeah.
Because
Angela,
I'm a
what do you
conspiracy theorist too. I think there's something to this. I think that I smell a rat.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
There's always a rat. And the mice too. They running around too. Go ahead.
Big fat rat.
And sometimes you have women who hold on to certain things until you get to a certain level and then be like, I'm gonna play this card right here.
Exactly.
Well,
And
that's what I
AKA
think
Monica
about-
Lewinsky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who holds on to a dress like that?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
But now
yes.
they
Oh,
show
yes.
the picture of her.
But what do
I
you
don't know
think,
if you saw this
Angela? You're
morning.
quiet. What do you think?
I'm just listening because you all
But
make
we need
valid
you to speak.
points. No, you all make valid points. I mean, Jacqueline hit the nail on the head when she basically said it needs to be investigated. It definitely needs to be investigated. We're not saying that he did it or didn't, but when someone make a claim, let's see. And for those that falsely make a claim, they should be dealt with as well. But it's just so interesting after all this time when he was, as we all said, the world's governor, not just New York governor, but he transcends states. I mean, I had people in South Carolina talk about your governor, is all of that. And I was like, wow, everyone's listening. So now this comes up.
Yes, because
timing
he's
is
been
everything.
governor since 2011. He's
Right.
been governor since 2011. So if he's that type of person, and I'm not saying that men don't flirt. I mean, when I worked at the bank, my boss flirted with me back in the day. But as long as he didn't put his hands on me or say nothing out of the way real bad to me, anything like that, I would just say something back to him and keep it moving or whatever. But nowadays, with the Me Too movement and everything that has gone on, you don't have to be quiet now. As soon as somebody say something to you, you can immediately the next day put their name out there saying something because of all this Me Too movement and stuff. So when you start bringing up stuff 3 years
That's
ago,
what I'm saying. There's no empowerment of women to speak up. It's like you have to wait. Like at this point in this age, I understand what you were saying, Ebony, the fear and all of that. But you know what? At what point, when are we gonna say, a woman's gonna say, you can't do that, or you wait until a man claimed he was harassing, Cuomo was harassing them and saying all these things, and then now one by one they're coming out. So y'all are just sitting on this and being terrified.
Yeah.
If that's your true feelings, I feel truly bad, but I'm one of those women that if you say something out of line to me, I'm checking you and I'm going to human resources and I'm getting your butt in trouble.
Exactly.
Yes, and I'm like that too. But when I come to human resource, I'm gonna have all the receipts, so you're not gonna be able. The investigation is gonna be already done.
Exactly.
I'm going with the investigation.
Exactly. And then another thing too. I was reading with the first girl. I think it was one with Borland. Borland is her last name or something like that. Now she said that this happened a couple of years ago, right? Then she said last year in June she was somewhere else with him and she was in his office again talking to him. So my thing is, well, okay, if he approached you 2-3 years ago and you didn't like what he said or what he did, what are you doing in his office again by yourself? Why are you in the office with him again by yourself?
We're going to take a lashing for all of how we're talking. A lot of women's groups. But I'm just saying, if you don't like it, if there's something that's being harmful to you done, and say something in order for something to be corrected and come with your receipts. I like that, Ebony.
Yeah. You have to.
I'm not saying that they should investigate what the women are saying. I'm saying do not crucify somebody before you get all the evidence. As soon as one person say that this person said something sexual to them, all of a sudden everybody comes out of the woodwork. Like, how did this happen? Because I said from day one when she came out, I said, let's wait to see how many women come out behind her. So this is a pattern that happens like that. And I'm not saying that he didn't do it, because I'm pretty sure he probably might have said something to her or whatever. My thing is, well, if it happened those couple of years ago, now you in a room with him again by yourself. Because I wouldn't go in a room with
They're
someone
trying to
again
discredit
by
him
myself.
if it's warranted.
Exactly.
They're trying to discredit. Yeah, if it's warranted, I think he needs to do what is the right thing to do. But if it's not, hey.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to have conversations about is it true or if it's not true, right? Especially when someone has pulled New York up by its bootstraps and carried us, so to say. You know, it's very unfortunate. But I'm gonna be honest, men in power, they do a lot of things that they don't think is going to come back out.
Yeah,
And
Exactly.
this may be one of the cases, this may not be one of the cases, you know. In any way the pendulum swings is going to be, you know, like it's sorrowful, because if she's lying, like, why would you do that? And then if he did do it, like, why would you do that?
So why did you do that on both ends?
Yeah.
You know,
No
with
one
the power
11
you have.
years. 11 years, 10, 11 years he's been governor. Why now? Why now, in the midst of the pandemic, midst of everything that he has done? Now you want to say something. That's when it becomes suspicious.
Pandemic fever.
Yeah.
And do you realize now?
Home too long thinking about it. And said,
Yeah.
"You know what? If I see him on the news one more time on my
But
it's tired of them daily briefings."
And I don't know if you realize
I did appreciate the
now,
daily briefings.
now we look at, this is Women's History Month. All of this stuff is dropping now.
Yeah.
Women's History Month. Everything is strategic.
It is. That's what I'm saying.
Everything is strategic.
I'm thinking as far as the presidency, the next presidency, because that he at one point he had a good shot. You know, it was like, how could Cuomo go wrong? Because he pulled New York out of the pandemic. Now
Well, that's because now the Republican guy wants to run for governor. So now they're gonna do anything they can do to discredit him. That's what this is all about. Is to discredit him. That's what the whole thing is about.
Yeah.
I just, you know, and like I say, I'm not saying what he didn't do and what he did do. Is just like every time somebody wants your job, somebody comes out of the woodwork about some sexual harassment things. It's never nothing else. It's always about he's sexually harassed, because you know that's gonna really go against you.
Right.
Well, you need to walk with an entourage of like 90 people.
Yeah. Tape recorder, because nobody believes what they see, only what you hear.
Or not have any, you know, let that be a learning lesson. Don't have no women in your office unless somebody else is in there with you. Because nowadays it's like I can accuse you of anything, because that's another thing that worries me, is that somebody could just come up and accuse you of something, and all of a sudden you discredited, your reputation is gone. I mean, you know, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's out and you're gone or whatever, just that quick, because somebody accused you of doing something. And I know how that would feel if somebody accused you of doing something and it wasn't that.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies, but we was getting hot about Governor Cuomo. I really hope he doesn't. I really hope and trust that he doesn't have to step down. I really hope he doesn't, because I appreciated what he did for us for the pandemic and to carry on. But we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about our other hot topic, the chancellor. We'll be right back.
It's Shannon.
COVID-19 has changed how we express our faith and gather to worship. Now it's time to take the first step that lets us get back to spreading the word without spreading concern. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts. As COVID-19 vaccines become available, you may have questions.
Should I get it?
Is it safe?
Should I wait?
It's smart to question. Now, get the facts at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you.
It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. It's Shannon. Keeping it real.
Hi, welcome back. We're doing our hot topics real talk today. Oh, let's say hello to Vanessa, because she decided she wanted to go out of the country and lay in the sun rather than stay here.
Happy birthday, Vanessa!
Hi, Vanessa.
Oh, okay. Our next hot topic is one that has really, I'm really sad about it, but I'm not shocked at all, is our outgoing Chancellor, Richard Carranza. I saw that coming. I'd already told my friends he's only going to be here for about three years the most. I said that at the very, very beginning. And I feel bad that he's stepping down, but I really know it's not about the COVID-19 grieving, because I know what happens when you start wanting to make changes at the Board of Ed that you want to integrate to bring the kids, Black and Hispanic kids, the same equal education that the other kids in school get is always a problem. And they always come after you. So what do you think? You all parents, so what do you think about him stepping in?
I mean, I was shocked. I mean, I didn't. I didn't really expect it, but I knew based on the letter we received that, like you said, it couldn't have been about COVID. I mean, I think this had more to do with him wanting to make the changes to help minorities into these special gifted programs and other things that he wanted to do, which he probably was getting a lot of red tape. And, dealing with New York City Department of Ed is not an easy thing. So I'm pretty sure, he made the decision to step down.
My only thing with that is I feel like if you're in office or you're in like a high statue in an organization, you need to see the term out at least to the ending of the school year. Yeah,
Exactly.
like what does that say to the teachers, to the parents, to the staff? Like, you're turning your back on us. I don't care what you do. Bye.
Yeah. Well, I think that he was facing a lot of pressure because the plans that he wanted to implement was just too far and too great. He wanted to move a lot of minorities into schools. And I've been to a lot of those district meetings where they had it, where it was going on. And some of those parents from certain neighborhoods was like flat out, now, I don't want them now. He was facing a problem, and he was facing a big opposition.
Here's the thing. Why do we have to go into their neighborhoods and into their schools? Why can't we make the schools in our neighborhoods better than what they are?
Funding.
But not about funding too.
It's not funding.
It's the parents who do it, because I have to give props to the school my daughter's in. The parents step up and they do what they got to do for that school, and they don't wait for the funding. And a lot of these schools don't have that parent support.
Yeah.
It wasn't all about the funding and stuff in the school. What funding it was too, but he also wanted, say, like the gifted and talent classes in the individual schools. He wanted those in all the schools. The gifted and talent classes are in all the schools. They can be in the same school that's not as functioning as a high school, but you at least have a couple of classes in that school that's functioning at a high level. The same thing with the standardized tests for the high school, for those 4 schools. If you look at the kids that's in those schools, who are the most kids in those schools? Who are the most kids in Brooklyn Tech? What I'm saying is, at least I felt like at least he was moving in the right direction to want to kind of change things up. But once he started talking about that standardized test, I know then it was going to be a problem. Because look back at our chancellor. Chancellor Crew was the longest chancellor we have had. They never last more than 2-3 years. As soon as they start doing some things that they don't like, it doesn't matter whether it's in the middle of the school year or the end of the school year. They will get you out by that time, or they would just fire you. What they did with Chancellor Crew, they waited till he went on vacation, and they fired him while he was on vacation.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. So the pressure problem was starting to come on him. He wasn't getting the help that he needed. They were probably up against him. So what you say is, you know what? I'm not fighting this force. I'm an educator. That's what he said. I'm an educator. Just like with the testing now, with the kids that's home on remote, they didn't have to take those tests when the pandemic started. But now he was telling the parents to opt out of the test because your kids are not ready to take those tests, because a lot of our kids are falling behind. And so they wanted the state, got permission to do it last year, but now the federal government wants to put it back in place now for the kids to take the test. Those kids are not ready to take those tests yet.
No, they're not.
And this is what he was talking about.
But here's the thing, Lottie, with those tests, they tell us to teach priority standards, right? So we're teaching standards that they may have missed last year, right? But those standards are not they're going to be tested on. They're going to be tested on standards as if they were in school all year. So the system is designed for our children to fail, right? When they see our children, they see dollar signs. Our children are nothing but money to the people in above us.
Yeah,
It's
but
nothing
that could be one of the cases too, Albany. But what I'm saying, because of the pandemic, like he said, kids are already stressed out.
Yes.
They are not learning the same as they was learning before.
No.
Particularly those kids that have been
doesn't even
doing
compare.
remote for a whole year. It's totally different. Those kids are stressed out. Even the big kids are stressed out from doing remote. So you know they're not, even though you might be teaching them the same thing, they're not getting it the same way as they
No,
were
they're
in
not.
the class. They're not getting it.
No.
So they're not ready to take
No.
the test.
That's
So understandable, like he said, opt out because your kid is not ready because all they're gonna do is fail. You know what I'm saying? So I see what you were saying when we were in school without the pandemic. Yes, a lot of that was going on is true. But
no, that's happening now. We have a whole priority standards that it's separate from the Common Core, right? It's not separate from, it's pieces taken from the Common Core, but the test is still based on all of the Common Core standards. So I agree with him 100%. Everyone should opt out. And you know, the state make it up how they need to make it up, because here's the thing, and I don't get it. They're going to pass these children anyway, right?
That's what they said. Yeah.
They're going to pass these children anyway. Why are we giving them PTSD? And then why are we giving the teachers PTSD for coming into the building? How many times are we going to have to administer this test? Because you can only have 9 children in the classroom.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. It would have been a problem even giving the test either way. But with the standardized test for those 4 or 5 of those specialized schools, you know, I can understand them kind of changing up a little bit. But I also want to say to the parents, even though we've been in this pandemic, but this is an opportunity for us to really get it together. Because when those kids take those tests, a lot of our kids are really qualified to pass that test. But also, too, a lot of our kids are not prepared to take that test. So let's just be honest, though. A lot of our kids are not studying like the other kids study.
But Lottie, check this out. What I found out is that what they do is they bring the test preps into the underserved communities, right? And the students in the communities are not the ones who are chosen to go to those test preps. There are children who live outside of the zip codes that come in, like the DREAM program. We had one in Springfield Gardens. There was 2 students from my school that went. Everyone else was Asian and Caucasian from a whole nother zip code.
Wow.
Right. But we also, too, Ebony, and you know this because you know you in education too, as parents, I know we work and I know we busy. I know we working 5 and 10 jobs. But what I'm saying is we still have to do more and us preparing our kids. If they don't get in that prep program, then you have to get that book to help them study at home. I mean, it's like if Malcolm said, any means necessary. If you have to go and get that prep book yourself and work with those kids at home for them to study to take that test, that's what you do. You can't wait for the board of ed to do everything for your kids. I'm sorry.
Your child will be behind.
Yes.
If you wait, your child will be behind.
Yeah,
100%. Do everything for your kids. If they don't have an after school program for them, then you're gonna set up a program in your house for them to make sure they come home every day. You may look at TV for half an hour, and after that, you are studying in that book. So I don't care what you say, and people need to stop talking. The reason all them Chinese kids is down there in Brooklyn Tech is because them kids study all during the week. They study on the weekends. They in some type of program.
TVs are cut off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those kids don't have
no TV for them.
And you know, they have issues too because it's a culture. The parents compare their children, you know. So here it is. You have one child that's always 100, and you have another child that's a 95. The child that's a 95 really gets, you know, the business. And some of them children are committing suicide, attempting to commit suicide. So the pressure is on. But what I do want to say is that I appreciate the chancellor for bringing up the inequalities in the education system.
Yes.
You know, he really shined a light on it where that we all knew that it was happening. But, you know, here it is. You compare Upper East Side to, you know, East New York. You
Right.
compare the Parents Association monies that are in their pockets,
That's right.
when I say pockets, in their parent association, and then you know how much money that they collect, so they can pretty much have their own school without the Board of Education's money. So for that being stated, it's a plus. Now we have to move forward and say, okay, what can we do, and how can we bridge these gaps to make sure that our children are being educated and educated fairly. And it's a whole big picture that we need to really put together and bridge these gaps and these inequalities in this public school system that we pay into. So for that being stated, I thank her for that, because we all knew that exists, right? We all knew that it's systematically where that those schools that parents are struggling and trying to put food on the table, are not doing well, as opposed to those schools who parents are well off, are doing better, and trying to bridge that gap and have those kids go to their schools, because there is a small percentage of African American or brown children that go there. So we're talking about segregation all over again, right? Based on money. On money.
Well,
Yeah.
to
Well,
answer-
that's one of the questions
answer-
from our viewer is
to answer her
if
question,
the children, yeah.
Yes,
The
nothing
children-
changes when it comes to money. Yes,
Yeah.
everybody still gets paid regardless of what's going on. But like I said, before we have to go, is I want our parents. Look, let's just stop complaining and stop blaming everybody else. Let's just concentrate on our children, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to save our children, even during this pandemic. They can't get to the school like they're supposed to. They can't get to the libraries like they're supposed to. You're going to get some books in their house, and they are not going to be on them TVs all the time. They are not going to be playing them games all the time. They have to get these kids studying.
What's the question, Tiffany?
Something in place.
Yeah.
The question from the viewer was, from our viewer Shanice, was, if the children do not take the test, will they still get paid?
Yes, we said yes. We said that.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's parents, please. What, Ebony? Because you be getting on these parents. So what do you have to say in the last word to our parents?
Get it together, because these kids gonna be my doctor, and I'm gonna be like, you can't work.
Jackie, what you got to say?
We as parents have to step up, and if they're not getting the education and the help they need, we have to do it. And I work very hard with my 14-year-old. I go out of my way for his accommodations.
Tiffany?
Well, I just say that I agree that we need to step up, and that don't count on the DOE and the teachers there to do it. You have to also implement the same things at home to make sure that these kids get what they need and a good quality life.
Yeah, Angela, you be in the school with the parents and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm also a parent leader. And with that being stated, when you know better, you do better.
That's
so
right.
Get the information, make sure that your children are engaged, make sure you're engaged so that you don't miss out on anything. And you're right, it takes a village. We need to look after our children. Somewhere or another, we lost that understanding that together we achieve, as opposed to myself, I only look out for my child and therefore that's all that matters. No. We have to look out as a village.
This is what I tell parents all the time. Get to know those parents in your children's class.
That's right.
You need help, you can call them. You may even need them to pick your kids up from school one day if you can't get there.
Exactly.
You have to come together with each other and stop being so isolated.
Yes.
And ask for help. What is it? You have not because of what?
You ask
not. That's why you don't have. So.
Yes.
So as parents, please, and Chancellor, I'm really sorry to see you go. I really thought you was doing a good job, and hey, we know you're going to be all right, because like I said, I went through about 20 chancellors, and I'm the only two longest one that lasted that long is Chancellor with Crew with the 5, and I think it was Klein, he lasted 3. So hey, this is what happened. And so thank you for joining us today, and thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies, for joining us again today for our Hot Topics Real Talk. And as always, keep watching. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. You can see us every Saturday on Brooklyn Free Speech and Manhattan Neighborhood Network. So stay on. We're going to come back for after show in a few minutes. But as of today, thank you. And as always, we'll see you next time.
Today's show is sponsored by Abu's Bakery. If you have a sweet tooth, stop by Abu's Bakery for some delicious cakes and pies.
It's Shannon. 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 Keeping it real.
Hi, thanks for joining us for our after show. Welcome back, ladies. How are you? In our after show, our special guest is, she joined us in Hot Topics as well, is our special guest, Angela Moore, who's food safety agent, first line supervisor. Hello, Angela. How are you?
Hello. Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, there's another issue going on in the pandemic about the school safety agents. They're trying to move them back under the Board of Education. They take them from under the NYPD, and it's everybody's in an uproar. The agents don't like it. Your president, he doesn't like it, Mr. Floyd. So tell us what is going on here? What is the problem about going back under the Board of Education?
Well, the reason why we're with the NYPD is because a lot of incidents that were happening were not dealt with criminally, So we know situations happen with kids, they fight and whatnot, but serious things happen. And back in the day, a principal would take a gun off a kid and it would be in a drawer, and it would skip the whole criminal process of having it dealt with, and a whole lot of things would happen, or you'd have a rape, or you'd have children that would get beaten up, and there would be no repercussions behind that because at that time everything was dealt with via the principal. So this actually, us going to the NYPD, it really kept a balance where that there was accountability. When things happened to someone's child, it would be reported, and that's all it was. It's a reporting mechanism to ensure that anything that happened is dealt with, and that's basically it.
Mm-hmm. So you think it's going to be a big issue if you do get put back under the Board of Education? I mean, what do you see the real problem? So I just want to understand. Okay, if the kids are fighting and they come in with weapons, like before when something would happen, I think you could arrest the kid, right?
Well, if not necessarily that they're fighting, right? So we're talking about something.
No, I mean, like if they do something like almost committing a crime, could you arrest the kids at that time?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about if something happens severely, like an eye is poked out, right? Mm-hmm. Someone has a scissor and takes an eye out or something like that, because kids are gonna fight, right? So we're not talking about arresting kids. We're talking about just keeping a civil situation where that kids can go to school and it's they're able to be in an environment that is peaceful and they can get their education. But for the most part, we're talking about serious situations that occur where an assault happens, where that they are they can get arrested, and it's accountability to ensure that these things are dealt with properly, as opposed to if a rape happens, then we can't not do anything. Where that under the DOE, because they don't have that enforcement measure, yes, those things were happening, and they were turned a blind eye. Parents couldn't get information, and it was really a horrible time, and subsequently we ended up going with NYPD.
Mm-hmm.
So that's So we're talking about going backwards, you know, we're talking about not having accountability for parents and students. We're talking about things happening in schools and, you know, be mindful, things have gotten progressively worse, you know, over the years. We've had a death that's happened in our schools, right? We've had children that do bring firearms to school. We do have children that bring weapons to school. So these things would just pretty much get swept underneath the rug without any mentioning that it's happening in the school. So here it is, as a parent, you're looking into these, you know, where can I send my student, your child, and there's no information about the incidents that may happen where you can be sending your child into a death trap, you know?
Mhm.
So those are some of the things that we really want to highlight and to keep everyone protected. And also, you know, as my president put it out there, this is really not a good thing. It's definitely not. And he's fighting terribly hard because we want the public to understand that this is a bad idea. We're going backwards as opposed to forward. Now, we do understand that, you know, everything is not arrestable. You know, kids are going to be kids. We're into restorative practices, understanding that if a kid comes to school and punches something, you know, that kid is acting out. What happened to that kid, right? We have children that are foster kids, right? Children that are just sent to school without any type of guidance per se. So, you know, deaths happen. There's a lot of things that happen. Children are taking on more than they used to than back in the day, right? They can tell you when their parents don't have money. They can tell you that they haven't slept. They slept on a train, you know, where that before there, you know, situations that happen that if it happens in the home, it stays in the home. Now, you know, it doesn't. Kids are very much aware of their surroundings. They're aware of certain things that are happening, and they're pretty much, unfortunately, young adults that are put into adult situations, right? And that's unfortunate because they kind of missed out on that childhood and growing up and having, you know, that attention to be a child. So we're just there to make sure that those children are in an environment that is, you know, safe so they can go to school. And I tell you, we're an organization that's 70% women, 70% women, and we're women of color.
Wow.
And a lot of us live and work in our communities. So therefore, we have a hand, and you mentioned Springfield, I live in that area. So we have a hand on exactly, you know, who's who. You know, I've been on the job now 29 years. So I've watched at least 3 generations.
That's right.
3 generations, you know, go to school and help them along the way because I live and work in my community
That's
or
right.
somewhere close to it. So, you know, we're actually a benefit to be there. We don't carry weapons. And another thing that has not happened in New York, you know, knock wood, is that we haven't had a Sandy. We haven't had a Columbine. Why? Because of the relationships that we have with our children.
That's right.
You know, we have a very good relationship with these kids. That really, if they're upset with someone else, right? They're not going to take it out on everyone else. And then, you know, we are very fortunate that those things haven't happened because we're a deterrent in our schools. You know, we're not just the school safety officer. We're mom, we're dad. We are everything to these kids because of the relationships that we form with them. And like I said, 29 years, 3 generations of children that has come my way. And the only thing, you know, you want to see is them succeed. And I've been to different places and, you know, they still remember me because, you know, it's a small world. I went to Jamaica and still ran into kids that remember me. And, you know, it's like Maya Angelou. They don't remember exactly what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. You know, and, you know, we serve a valuable purpose to be in those positions.
So how can the community, you know, help Mr. Floyd? Like, who's making this decision? Is it the council member people making the decision? Do we need to be writing letters to our council members or what? How can we as the community show support?
So there is, you can go on local237.org. There's a petition, and you can sign on that petition stating that you're against the removal of NYP school safety, moving from NYPD to go back to the DOE. Yeah.
Okay, then we thank you for sharing that information, and we'll try to do what you said and reach out to council people, whoever we need, to write letters to or whatever to see.
Yeah,
it's
a very
how we
serious
can help out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if the kids are gonna be returning to school, we got to make sure that everybody is safe, the children and the school safety agents are safe as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The students are not the students from back in our day. It's a whole different generation of kids coming to school now. So we want to thank you for sharing that and letting us know what the issue is, and like I said, we'll do what we have to do. And so we're gonna move on to our last topic, which is pandemic shut-in, because I think that has a lot to do with what's going on now. I think we've been shut up. I think we've been shut up too long. I think we just shut up too long, and now everything is just breaking loose with everybody resigning, kicking people out of the seat. And they want to mess with the school system, with the age. I mean, there's just too much going on. I don't know what people are doing in the shut in. So what have y'all been doing since you've been shut in? I mean,
losing my mind.
You? Are you still normal?
I don't know if we've ever been normal. I think we have the opportunity to start questioning a lot of things we've done. You got to sit down and be quiet.
Well, I know one thing, this remote learning, I've had enough of it.
You know what it's like to get my child up now just for remote learning?
Yes.
And then you got to make sure they're on the remote, they're in the class.
Exactly. Yesterday, mine clearly walked away from the computer for a good 10 minutes to look for a plastic cup for her science class.
Well, I gotta make sure, and the teacher calls and say, I don't see him in the class. I'm like, where are you? Stay in your class. It's even more work now.
I feel like it is.
Yeah, that's what parents are saying. Is much more work.
It is, and I'm not a teacher.
It's for some parents, it's a lot more work because they wasn't doing it to begin with.
Exactly, Ebony.
Right? I'm just going to put it out there.
I said that, Ebony.
It's
well,
a
I'm
lot
glad you said it, Ebony, not me. I'm glad you said it,
but
Ebony.
what about the parents that work?
What about the parents that were working with their kids, but now you see my child is like, if he can get away with playing a game over the class, he'll do it. But if I'm right there looking at him, he's gonna do what he got to do. So I have to be on guard. I'm doing my work and watching him.
But so now you're doing what the teacher did. So she had your son in a class with 32 other kids, and while she turned her back, she had to make sure that he was still on class. So
now I understand. I understand.
Yeah, you understand. That's right.
Anything else?
I understand.
No, you overstand, right?
I overstand.
Yes.
Listen,
I have his desk in one area and my desk right directly behind him so I can see.
Yes, because you can't have
you in school too.
I'm in school too. He type, I type.
Let me ask you, because I was listening to some of the parents about their kids, and a lot of this, I thought it would affect more the younger kids than the older kids becoming depressed. Because I thought they would know how to probably handle themselves better and know how to keep themselves busy. But a lot of parents have been talking about how their kids, like in high school, are becoming depressed, and they just not talking to their friends and being isolated. And I was finding that kind of strange, because I would figure you talking to your friends on your phone, even if you Zoom them or meet them for a soda or something like that, like that was kind of I was thinking about that, because I would figure the little kids would have more problems not being active and sociable.
Well, it's not the same thing. I mean,
It's
in
not.
high school, you're out and you're socializing, you're having lunch with your friends. You do so much
Yes.
in high school, and now you can't even interact with them. I mean, there's so much phone conversation. Although teenagers love to be on the phone, but not talking. They don't want to
Yeah.
talk to you for a whole hour or so.
That
You think
connection
about
is
the kids-
right now. That connection is lost.
Yeah.
Definitely. You think about the kids that play sports, you know, you have your jocks, you
Yeah.
have your it girls that come to
Yeah.
school to dress to impress. You
Yes.
miss out on all of that. And it becomes a situation where that, oh my gosh, you know, now the mask even hide some of your face. So you can't even see, you know, someone being sarcastic. You can't get the true the gist of what someone is saying through facial expressions. So that takes a lot away from socialization as well.
I know what it feels like. I miss lipstick.
I do too.
Yeah.
I put on lipstick
Yeah.
today.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, that defeated the purpose of putting it on.
I said, you put a lipstick on and you have to put on a mask. You can't even tell if somebody's smiling anymore.
Yes.
No, you can't. And someone says, well, play your eyes up, you know, put the eyelashes on.
Exactly.
You got the mask and the eyelashes. It's like, really?
No one wants to walk around like
Yeah.
The room on there.
I don't need to be
It's
ready,
like,
boo.
hey.
Looking like a Muppet.
Oh, ladies, we have to go. But before we go, I do want to say to the ladies and men, you know, even though I know we can't, you know, go out and socialize and stuff like that, but I think sometimes when we're in the house, we should just kind of dress a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm in the house, sometimes I put my makeup on. I mean, I'm not going outside. I mean, I put my makeup on and lipstick on and my earrings and stuff, you know, just to make me feel good. You know, it makes me feel good. Like, you know, I never know who might come and ring the doorbell, you know, so at least I look good
Put a
for that
mask
day.
on.
That's right. I agree.
Open the door.
Zoom, you definitely got to play it up, right? They only gonna see you like this, so you just can't come anyway. You got to bring it.
Make yourself feel good. I still think you should make yourself feel good because you know when you look good,
You
feel
feel
good.
Feel good.
Exactly. So, ladies, make sure you keep your makeup on, put your high heel shoes. I put my heels on sometimes in the house just to walk from the bedroom.
I'm wearing heels making eggs.
So thank you, ladies, for coming on today and sharing the hot topics and real topics. And thank you just more for, you know, highlighting us about the school safety agent. And
Thank you.
We hope it work out that y'all
Yes.
can remain on the NYPD. But if it doesn't, look, we'll make the best of whatever it is you have to do when you get back to the schools and stuff like that.
Sure.
But hopefully, you know, it'll turn out in your favor and stuff like that.
Thank
So,
you.
Elmony, keep it going.
Yes,
Jacqueline,
sir.
keep it going. Tiff, keep it going. All right, ladies. And
Thank you.
remember,
Thank
follow us
you.
on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and watch us on Saturdays on Brooklyn Free Speech and Manhattan Neighborhood Network. So thank you again for watching tonight. And as always, we'll see you next time.
I already tested myself.
Oh, okay.